Hey everyone, I'm Sarah. Before I get into my story, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. You'll want to stay for this crazy story. I'm just your average 17-year-old. Except for this illness, that's been tough on me for as long as I can remember. It's just been me and my dad, Mark. Since my mom passed away when I was little, we've always been super close. He's been my rock, especially with all the doctor visits and medications I need. Life was pretty normal until Veronica showed up. Dad met her at work, and she charmed her way into our lives. At first, I was happy about it. Dad deserved to be happy, right? Veronica seemed nice, always bringing me small gifts and saying sweet things. One day, she suggested we have a girls' night. Sarah, honey, how about we do face masks and watch that new romantic comedy you mentioned? Veronica asked. I was excited. That sounds awesome. Maybe we could order pizza too? Of course, anything for my new daughter, she replied with a wink, but something about that wink felt off. Things moved quickly. Before I knew it, Dad was proposing to Veronica, and she was showing off a huge engagement ring. Sarah, what do you think about having Veronica as your stepmom? Dad asked, looking hopeful. I forced a smile. If she makes you happy, Dad, then I'm happy. The wedding was small, just family and close friends. Veronica moved in, and I really tried to get along with her. We had family dinners where she'd ask about school, but things always felt strange. So, Sarah, how's that science project going? She'd ask. It's good, still working on the hypothesis, I'd say. Well, don't stress too much. It's not like you're curing cancer or anything, she'd joke, but her laugh never seemed real. Then came that night. I woke up with terrible pain, like my body was falling apart. Dad, help, I cried. He rushed into my room, panicked. Sarah, what's wrong? Talk to me, he said, worried. It hurts, Dad, it really hurts, I whimpered. Veronica stood at the doorway. Mark, maybe we should wait. You know how dramatic teenagers can be. But Dad ignored her. He picked me up and rushed me to the car. As we sped to the hospital, I saw Veronica's reflection in the rearview mirror. She looked strange. Annoyed, like my pain was a bother to her or something. I watched Veronica from my hospital bed. In the ER, while the doctors were checking me out, I overheard Dad and Veronica talking outside my room. Mark, these hospital bills are going to be huge. Are you sure this isn't just? Veronica started. Just what? Veronica? Our daughter is in pain. Nothing else matters right now. Dad cut her off. Our daughter. That should have made me feel good, but the way Veronica said, sure, of course, sent chills down my spine. As I lay there with IVs and monitors hooked up to me, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get a lot worse, and I was right. After that night, everything started going downhill. I missed more school than I attended, and my treatments got even more intense. One morning, I overheard Dad and Veronica arguing in the kitchen. Mark, these bills are insane. We can't keep this up, Veronica said. What do you want me to do, Veronica? She's my daughter, Dad replied, frustrated. I'm just saying, maybe she's exaggerating a bit, for attention, Veronica suggested. I couldn't believe it. My own stepmom thought I was faking. I wanted to storm in and tell her off, but my body had other plans. A sharp wave of pain hit me, and I collapsed to the floor. Dad, help, I called out. They both rushed in, but Veronica's face showed it all. She looked annoyed, like I'd interrupted their argument. Oh, Sarah, again? Don't you think you're being a bit dramatic? She said in this fake sweet voice that made my skin crawl. Dad looked confused. Honey, are you sure you're not just stressed about school? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Are you kidding me? I can barely stand, I shouted. That's when my best friend Alex showed up. Thank God for perfect timing. Holy crap, Sarah, what's going on? Alex rushed to my side. She's fine, just being a little dramatic, Veronica said, rolling her eyes. But Alex wasn't buying it. She looks awful. We need to call an ambulance. Now. Let's not overreact, Veronica started, but Alex was already on the phone. At the hospital, the doctors confirmed what I had been saying all along. My condition was serious, and I needed regular treatment. Dad looked guilty, but Veronica? She was putting on the perfect stepmom act for the medical staff. Oh, doctor, we've been so worried. Is there anything we can do to help our dear Sarah? She asked, her voice dripping with fake concern. The doctor eyed her skeptically. Well, for starters, bringing her in when she's in pain would help, I saw Veronica's mask slip for just a moment before she forced another fake smile. Later, when they thought I was asleep, I overheard Veronica talking to Dad in the hallway. "Mark, this is getting out of hand. These treatments, the hospital stays, we're going to go broke," Veronica whispered harshly. "But the doctor said," Dad started. "Doctors say a lot of things, Mark. They're just trying to make money off us. Sarah's young, she'll bounce back. Maybe what she really needs is some tough love," Veronica replied. I couldn't believe it. She didn't care about me at all. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Tough love? I was seriously ill, not throwing a tantrum. "I don't know, Veronica, what if," Dad started. "Trust me, Mark, I've dealt with kids before. Sometimes they just need a push to overcome these things. We cut off the treatments, make her face life head-on. She'll thank us later," Veronica said confidently. There was a long pause, and my heart was pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. Maybe you're right. We'll try it your way," Dad finally said. It felt like a punch in the gut. My own dad, the one person I thought I could always count on, was turning his back on me, and for what? Because his new wife told him to. As they wheeled me out of the hospital the next day, I caught Veronica's eye. She gave me this smile that chilled me to the bone, like she was saying, "I won. But you know what? Game on, Veronica." If she thought I was going down without a fight, she was wrong. I might be sick, but I'm not stupid, and I definitely wasn't going to let her win this twisted game she was playing. After Dad and Veronica cut off my treatments, things got bad fast. I tried to tough it out, but it was rough. One morning, I could barely get out of bed. "Sarah, get up, you'll be late for school." Veronica's sharp voice pierced through my door. "I don't feel good. I think I need to stay home," I called weakly. She barged in, eyes narrowed. "Oh, please, this act is getting old. Get dressed." I tried to explain, but she wasn't listening. I stumbled downstairs, and Dad looked concerned. "Honey, are you okay? Maybe you should stay home," Dad asked, worried. But before I could answer, Veronica jumped in. "Mark, remember what we talked about? No more coddling." Dad's face hardened. "Right, Sarah, toughen up. You can't miss any more school." I couldn't believe it. It felt like I was living in some twisted alternate reality. At school, I pulled my best friend Alex aside. "Dude, I need help. They've stopped my meds, my treatments, everything." Alex's eyes widened. "What the hell? That's messed up. We have to do something." "I'm scared, Alex. What if they put me in foster care?" I said, my voice trembling. That's when Mrs. Rodriguez, my favorite teacher, overheard us. "Sarah, Alex, is everything okay?" she asked. Before I knew it, I was spilling everything to Mrs. Rodriguez in her classroom. Her face grew more horrified with each word. "This is serious, Sarah, we need to get you help," she said firmly. "But what can we do? It's my dad's word against mine," I said, feeling hopeless. Alex suddenly snapped her fingers. "Evidence, we need to gather proof." Mrs. Rodriguez nodded. "Good thinking, Alex. Sarah, do you think you can secretly record what's happening at home?" I felt a spark of hope. "Yeah, I think I can do that." For the next few weeks, I became like a secret agent in my own home. I recorded Veronica's snide remarks and Dad brushing off my pain. It was hard to listen to it all again, but I knew it had to be done. One day, while I was pretending to nap on the couch, I overheard Veronica on the phone. "Yes, I've transferred another $5,000. No, don't worry, Mark has no clue. He thinks it's all going to Sarah's treatments," she said. My eyes flew open. She was stealing from us. I quickly hit record on my phone, praying she wouldn't notice. "Of course, I'll be careful. These idiots suspect nothing. I'll have the account drained in no time," she continued. I felt sick to my stomach, and not just because of my illness. How could Dad not see through her? The next day at school, I told Alex and Mrs. Rodriguez everything. "She's stealing money too. This is insane." Alex was furious. Mrs. Rodriguez looked serious. "I've contacted your previous doctors. They're horrified by what's happening and are willing to provide statements." I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and fear. "Thanks, Mrs. R. I just hope it's enough." As we were planning our next move, a wave of dizziness hit me. The room started to spin. "Sarah, are you okay?" Alex's voice sounded far away. I tried to answer, but my legs gave out. The last thing I heard was Mrs. Rodriguez shouting for someone to call 911. I woke up in the ER again. Dad was there, looking scared and confused. Veronica was trying to sweet-talk the doctor. "Oh, you know how teenagers are always so dramatic. I'm sure it's just stress from school," she said. But the doctor wasn't buying it. "Mrs. Thompson, your stepdaughter's condition is extremely serious. Without proper treatment, she could—" Now, let's not exaggerate," Veronica interrupted. "Mark and I know what's best for our Sarah." I watched as Dad's expression changed. It was like he was finally seeing her for who she really was. But before he could say anything, I felt myself fading again. As the darkness closed in, I heard Alex's voice. "Don't worry, Sarah, we've got the evidence. We'll fix this. Just hang on." I wanted to tell them about the money and everything else, but the darkness was pulling me under. My last thought was, please let this plan work. I can't take much more of this. When I woke up in the hospital again, it felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Dad was there, looking like he'd aged 10 years overnight. There was no sign of Veronica, though. I guess the witch finally flew off on her broomstick. "Sarah, baby, I'm so sorry. I should have listened to you," Dad said, choking up. Before I could respond, the doctor stormed in, looking angrier than ever. "Mr. Thompson, your daughter's condition is critical. The lack of treatment is borderline criminal neglect. I'm required to report this to the authorities." Dad looked like he might pass out. I didn't know. My wife." That's when Alex and Mrs. Rodriguez burst in, like they were leading a rescue mission. "We've got proof," Alex shouted, waving her phone. Mrs. Rodriguez, always calm, stepped in. "Mr. Thompson, Sarah's been documenting everything: neglect, verbal abuse, and financial fraud." Dad's eyes widened. "Financial fraud? What are you talking about?" Alex played the recordings on her phone. Veronica's voice filled the room, bragging about stealing money from our family accounts. Dad's face went from shock to devastation. "I can't believe this. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I've been such a fool," he said. Just then, a nurse rushed in. "There's been an accident. A woman named Veronica Thompson." My heart skipped a beat. Dad jumped up. "What happened?" "She was in a high-speed collision. Apparently, she was trying to leave town with a large sum of cash. She's alive, but she's paralyzed from the neck down." The room went silent. I couldn't help but think, karma's a real thing. Dad looked like he was going to be sick. "I need to go see her." "Dad, after everything she did," I started, but he shook his head. "I need to tell her it's over and that she's going to pay for what she did to you." As he left, Alex squeezed my hand. "We did it. Sarah, you're safe now." The next few weeks were a whirlwind. My treatment started up again, and slowly, I began to feel like myself. Dad filed for divorce faster than you can say gold digger, and the cops were all over Veronica. A year later, I was packing for college. Can you believe it? There were days I didn't think I'd make it to my next birthday, let alone college. Dad knocked on my door. "Need any help, kiddo?" "Nah, I've got it. Thanks though." Things were still a bit awkward between us, but we were working on it. "Sarah, I know I've said it a million times, but I'm sorry. I should have believed you," he said. I sighed. "Dad, I get it. She played you, she played all of us, but you came through in the end, and that's what matters." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "You're stronger than I ever knew." As I zipped up my last suitcase, Alex popped her head in. "Ready to roll, college girl?" I grinned. "You bet. Let's blow this popsicle stand." As we loaded up the car, I couldn't help but feel grateful. It was weird, but this whole mess showed me who my real friends were and how strong I could be. "You okay?" Alex asked, noticing my thoughtful look. "Yeah, just thinking. A year ago, I didn't think I had a future. Now, the sky's the limit." Dad gave me one last hug before we left. "Show them what you're made of, kiddo." The story's over, but I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive your dad for choosing Veronica over you? Or is some betrayal too deep to move past? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm dying to hear what you do in this situation. If you enjoyed this wild ride, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that'll make your jaw drop. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.